Good to have you in this CRS class. Enjoy the class. Suppose these are yours. Will it be wise for you to loan any of these objects to a stranger without determining if the borrower was trustworthy or not? It would probably not be wise. Why? It is because the stranger might damage them. Have you ever loaned anything to a friend and your friend damaged it? How will you feel? I am sure you won't be happy. Will you? Would you like to give that your friend any of your belongings again? Obviously no. Today's lesson is about the responsibility of Christians to obey God in the way they handle all of His possessions. Today's topic is stewardship. Can we say it together? Stewardship. We are going to be focusing on 3 objectives. These are: number 1, define the terms steward and stewardship as related to the biblical concepts. 2, distinguish between good stewardship and poor stewardship of one's talents and gifts. 3, identify different ways of how Christians should use their resources to glorify God. Globally, there is an urgent need of faithful and trustworthy stewards who will manage the resources God has deposited in the earth. Can you be the excellent person the world is looking for? This is Tola. She is giving her PlayStation PS5 to Bode. How is she expecting Bode to handle the PS5? She is expecting him to take proper care of it. Bode is a steward. Therefore, a steward is someone who manages and cares for someone else's property. I take it again. A steward is someone who manages and cares for someone else's property. The way Bode manages the PS5 is very important. Stewardship means the management and care of someone else's property. Stewardship means the management and care of someone else's property. Therefore, the difference between steward and stewardship is that a steward is the person involved and stewardship is the management of the property. Let's read Psalm 24 verse 1 together. Psalm 24 verse 1. The earth is the Lord's, and all its fullness, the earth and those who dwell therein. Who owns the earth and everything that lives there? God. People own nothing. God is the one who owns everything, since He is the creator of the earth. Now let's read Genesis chapter 1 verse 28 together. Genesis chapter 1 verse 28. Then God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves on the earth. So whom God gave dominion or rule over the earth? to Adam and Eve and to his descendants. Note that God was not giving ownership to Adam. God still owns everything. However, God entrusted the earth to Adam and his descendants. God has given people the honor or privilege of working with God's property, caring for it, and using it creatively. So, as stewards, we are expected to manage the possession God has given to us. As Tola is expecting Bode to take care of her PS5, so God expects people to be responsible with his possessions. Possessions are things that are owned. These possessions include your time, talents, or gifts. That is your skills like drawing, singing, dancing, running, and so on, and treasures of God's creation like your money and your properties. Activity 1. Do you have gifts or talents? Write your talents or gifts. How do we use this possession to glorify God? Christians ought to use their talents or gifts to serve so that God receives the praise. Matthew is a footballer. When he plays football, he always gives God thanks and uses his money to help the needy. Grace is an artist. She always remembers that it was given to her by God, and she praises God for it. Sometimes she helped to design her church. Onome loves teaching. She helps to teach the grade 1 children in our neighborhood. If you are a singer, you will live a life that gives glory to God. It will reflect in your singing and all that you do. If you have money, don't oppress people with your wealth. Ensure you assist the needy. Time is important to God. You need to manage your time wisely. Do your work at the right time and don't waste it. As a steward, you are accountable to God. Let's see some examples of good and poor stewardship. Let's read each of these scenarios and decide if the person mentioned is demonstrating good stewardship or poor stewardship. Number 1. Teresa has a book report due in 2 days, but she plays video games instead of reading the books. Is Teresa demonstrating a good stewardship or a poor stewardship? A poor stewardship. Number 2. Musa never gets up when his mother calls him in the morning. He often makes the rest of the family late for occasions. Is Musa demonstrating a good stewardship or a poor stewardship? A poor stewardship. Number 3. Maria spends a little time each day practicing running. When it is time for competitions, she always performs excellently. Is Maria demonstrating a good stewardship or a poor stewardship? A good stewardship. Number 4, Kate usually go to play as soon as she gets home instead of writing her homework. She returned to school the next day with undone work. Is Kate demonstrating a good stewardship or a poor stewardship? A poor stewardship. Number 5, Mr. Timothy is an accountant. He takes part of the money meant for repairing the school playground. Is Mr. Timothy demonstrating a good stewardship or a poor stewardship? A poor stewardship. A biblical example of a good steward is David. David was a shepherd boy, but he was talented in playing his instrument and singing. While the flocks were busy eating, he spent his time practicing how to play his instrument and singing. When King of Israel Saul needed someone who could play the instrument and bring down the presence of God, it was David that was called to the palace. If you are excellent in what you do, it will take you to great heights. Today, we've learned the meaning of a steward and stewardship. The question is, are you a good steward or a poor steward? Activity 2. Outline 2 ways you can use your talent to bring praises to God. You can now write your classwork and your homework. Thank you.